So with that, let's go ahead and recap our games. Let's start it off actually on Thursday night when the Red Foxes went over to North Andover and had a bit of a crushing defeat. 81-56, the Warriors took care of the Red Foxes. How about freshman guard Kavere Kennedy? Can't say enough about him. He had 22 points. On the Marist side, redshirt sophomore center Jason Schofield had 13.
Yeah, it was a great game for Merrimack. Kavere Kennedy, we've mentioned him.
We'll talk more about him.
We'll mention it later, but there's a few awards he might go out and get this week, which is very special for him. But now let's flip over to the games that started on Friday. Manhattan taking on Niagara. Manhattan taking them down 76-69 in a big win for Manhattan. Junior guard Jaden Winston, 21 points and 3 steals, while the sophomore forward for Niagara, Will Short, had 12 points, 7 rebounds. A great win for them, but also a great win for Mount St. Mary's.
A big one. They eliminated Ryder with a 65-55 victory. Sophomore guard Abdul Kadre Kebe had 15 and 10 en route to a double-double. And Zion Cruz on the Ryder side with 22 points, the senior guard / forward. But it was not enough for the Lawrenceville team. They are out of the postseason.
Then maybe our favorite team in the MAAC, Sacred Heart, getting a huge win against St. Peter's. What a game it was. A 7-point victory, 78-71. Ja'Kai Gupton for St. Peter's had 15 points, but then the redshirt senior, Anquan Hill, 20 points. We got to see him play live, and he looked great. This Sacred Heart team really looks like a very complete team in the MAAC.
And that's when he came back from injury. He was out for 7 games. Sacred Heart really was skidding during that moment, and it just so happened to align with around the beginning of conference play. So that's why their record, I believe, isn't where you want them to be. They are a threat, and they are led by him, especially when you pair him with Deshaun Gittens. That is a scary Sacred Heart squad.
A great 1-2 punch, if you might say, because he's such a versatile forward, and Deshaun Gittens is such a great guard. It just balances out so well and makes the Sacred Heart team so amazing. But there was another team that took place, Quinnipiac Bobcats taking down Siena in a massive victory by 12 points. Quinnipiac winning 74-62. Amari Monroe, the preseason MAAC Player of the Year, 21 points and 7 rebounds, while Gavin Dottie had 21 points and 16 rebounds for Siena. He's been electric, insane.
He's crazy. You mentioned the 1-2 punch. I think the 1-2 punch to look out for is the Siena backcourt. I know Kavere Kennedy is leading the way for Merrimack in their backcourt, but I think the Saints by far actually have the best backcourt in the MAAC because you have Doty, who had such a good game and always has such a good game. I mean, now he has been in double figures in 16 consecutive contests. The guy has played 27 games, or 26, and only 3 times had he not scored 10+. He's crazy, but you pair him with Justice Schultz, who, when we'll get to the Battle of I-87, really showed out in the points category with his shot, but he is such a good facilitator, a top 3 player in assists per game in the MAAC, and top 100 nationally. He is such a good point guard, and when you pair him with the scoring threat of Doty, that's a lethal backcourt. And we'll wrap things up on this Friday with Iona and Canisius, 69-63. The Gales took care of the Griffs. Fairfield did not have a scheduled game. So, with that, let's move into Sunday. Sunday was a little bit more important for the MAAC standings. We saw some eliminations, and we really saw some tails. Not necessarily any upsets. We have one that's big to highlight. So, JJ, let's kick things off in Buffalo.
Yeah, Manhattan taking on Canisius in a battle in Buffalo. Manhattan taking the victory 69-65 by 4 points. What a game it was. Close all the way down to the wire. Just such a great complete game from this Manhattan team. They're a very explosive offense. Jaden Winston leading the way with 18 points and 3 steals. And with the loss, Canisius was officially eliminated from MAAC tournament contention. And it was a rough loss for Canisius, but a great win for Manhattan.
Absolutely. They continue to stay hot. And speaking of staying hot, let's talk about the other team that's practically tied for that same spot in Sacred Heart. 86-75 home victory that officially eliminated Ryder. Cruz did have 22 points and 6 rebounds, but Anquan Hill, 21 and 9. Man, I know he's one of your favorite players in the MAAC, and I got to agree.
He's just so electric. I guess the best way to describe him is smooth. Almost like Amari Monroe. Like, you just watch him play, and he's just so smooth with the ball. He has the ball on a string. He can go up. He can make explosive plays at the rim, but he also has that rebounding ability, which makes this Sacred Heart team so deep and special.
And Deshaun Gittens. he also says he does everything that you just described as well. They have a really good 1-2 punch as well.
Yeah, and then they defeated St. Peter's back on Friday, but St. Peter's bounced back with a victory over Fairfield, going after both Fairfield teams. This time got Fairfield in this one, 83-74. TJ Robinson leading the way for St. Peter's with 21 points. St. Peter's, very dangerous. We always know they can be dangerous come March. They've made the tournament before. They're looking to do it again.
They are the only team in MAAC men's or women's basketball history, and we'll talk about MAAC women's basketball on Women's Wednesday right here on MAAC Mania, but they are the only team in the history of the conference to make the Elite Eight, and this was only a couple of years ago, so watch out if they get hot coming into the tournament. A team that's staying hot, though, the Merrimack Warriors took care of Quinnipiac in a really defensive battle, a high defensive battle, 56-49. Yes, they held Amari Monroe's squad, the number 4 seed in the conference, to sub 50 points. Kavere Kennedy, 24, 7 rebounds, and 3 steals. Keith McKnight, 8 points and 10 rebounds, just shy of a double-double. But man, that Merrimack team's rolling.
Wow. Kavere Kennedy might just be the best player in the MAAC as just a freshman.
It's crazy.
He is insane.
But he might not even win Freshman of the Year.
He might not. It's
insane.
It's wild. It's crazy how good he's been down the stretch recently. He might not even get that award of Freshman of the Year.
Brandon Benjamin is still a player. Yet he's the only player in the MAAC that's averaging a double-double over on Fairfield, and he's a rookie. The Rookie of the Year race is going to be so fun on the men's side.
I think it's safe to say the MAAC is in very good hands, to say the least, with how good these freshmen are. The
MAAC is in good hands, and we say that because it has been announced that the MAAC is no longer going to be the MAAC. We will know in July what the MAAC is becoming, and hence MAAC Mania will really only exist for 4 months before inevitably there has to be a name change. But don't worry, we will continue to bring you coverage on whatever name it is, because who knows what the MAAC is going to be.
I like the Metro personally.
That's cool. I think it's cool.
Obviously, can't say too much, but I do like the move.
The only problem with Metro is that Ixnay's Emmitsburg, Maryland, which is where Mount St. Mary's is, and North Andover, Mass. That's not really the Metro area where Merrimack plays. So I guess it works.
It's interesting.
But then again, right now it's the Metro Atlantic.
Exactly.
But I think that incorporates the Atlantic area, so maybe you do get that Maryland and that Mass area. Regardless, we are nobodies for the MAAC right now.
Exactly.
So we have no decisive decisions. What we can decide to talk about is this loss for Iona.
It was a crazy game. Niagara taking down Iona, in which is maybe the biggest matchup of the year so far. Niagara winning 70-68. CJ Anthony leading the way for Iona with 15 points and 3 steals. But Brian Griffith had 17 points. With the victory and a Fairfield loss to St. Peter's, Niagara remains alive for postseason contention. But got to talk about the ending of this game really quick. Justin Hawkins went up for a layup, got blocked off the backboard, called a goaltend, and that led Niagara to the victory over Iona with just about 3 seconds left to go.
It's crazy.
It was mania, as we might say,
it's
going
crazy.
After it. It's MAAC Mania. Just what a game it was for Niagara.
And Mania will always happen when you talk about the Battle of I-87. This time it was in Poughkeepsie. Siena, Marist, 67-63 the final. Marist came just shy of what would have been a pretty nice comeback. Siena fouled a ton to begin the game, and that is why Marist was hanging around despite not really playing too well on the defensive front and very simply just not hitting their shots. But it was the 7th-year player, graduate forward Antonio Chandler, who dropped 19. He was really the focal point of that game. Justin Menard on the Marist end did have 6 assists and 17 points, but the Red Foxes ultimately fell short.